body language of the government has not really been that inspiring. We are dealing with areas that are not governed, ungoverned spaces. That is just the fact. And we need the government closest to the people to occupy these areas. We even have to prioritize it first before even thinking about state policing first. Let's allow these governments at the local government level to operate in order for them to work coordinatedly with all of the administrators of all of these schools to ensure that, the implementation of that safe school initiative is pushed through.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has assured the families of the abducted children in parts of the country that the government would intensify their efforts to secure their release and strengthen protection measures for schools in rural and vulnerable communities. And he said this to mark the Children's Day celebration. And he said that the children abducted in both Oyo and Borno State remained a top priority in his administration. Even the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, has assured that his administration is making serious effort to secure their release. But let's talk about the Children's Day celebration in line with this incident that occurred and the effort of the government in rescuing these abducted children. In fact, many times the government have said it, that ransom payment is a no-no, or should be a no-no for the government and even for Nigerian citizens. But let's talk about the position or the body language of the government in their efforts to rescue these abducted children. We've talked about what must be done in terms of installing security apparatus and strengthening our architecture. We've talked about it a lot of times. What must be done to rescue these children? What do you have to say about this?
I think it's third Children's Day in Nigeria, to be honest with you. To start with, the government, before even touching on the government, I think I'll use this particular period to sympathize with the families of those children, their parents. We all know what, or we all could possibly, envisage what they are going through right now, because nobody can actually say for sure what exactly or how exactly they feel. You get me? So we must take our time to sympathize with them. And now to the government. I think if I'm to answer your question directly, I would say the body language of the government has not really been that inspiring. If you look at those areas where these attacks have taken place, I'm talking about from Jengembe, Chibok, Dapchi, Kankara, before we even get to this Oyo incident, then the one that happened again in Borno State of recently, in Askira Oba, if I'm correct. So I think there's a particular pattern, and which is that these non-state actors have mastered the act of attacking, schools that are situated in far-flung places. You understand me? And what does that tell us? It tells us that they notice the vulnerability of those areas, and they position themselves to exploit it. Now, one would have expected a serious government to implement policies, I'm talking about restructure itself in a manner that accommodates, the need of those areas. But what we have is the over-centralization of power. You get me? We all celebrated in 2022 when President Buhari signed Executive Order 10, I think so, which granted local government autonomy. You get me? Which was later contested. So but what we've witnessed is that even coupled with the initiative taken by this president, who also went back to court for interpretation, went back to the Supreme Court, one thing that emerged from that is that the government has not been able to successfully match its action, its words with action. I think the government has largely dropped the ball, and that alone actually doesn't bode well for the safety of these children. Now, the government ought to have gone further to sacrifice its political political fortune in ensuring that we actually have the autonomy of this local government. We are dealing with areas that are not governed, ungoverned spaces. That is just the fact. And we need the government closest to the people to occupy these areas. to ensure that all of these non-state actors don't find easy targets to actually exploit. So, but what it seems is as though the government prioritizes its own political survival than actually pushing through that policy to ensure that we have a truly autonomous local government functioning. If you look around, even in our state where we are currently, you go to some of the local governments we have. What are the governments in that areas truly in charge? I doubt it. And this same theory applies to all of these areas where we've experienced this incident. So the government needs to go beyond condemnation and ensure that the local government autonomy is fully integrated. Because when you look at the safe school framework initiative, which was brought about by the former United Kingdom Prime Minister, I'm talking about Mr. Tony Blair, you would realize that it covers an area that involves some early warning sign, and even community patronage was also involved. But how do you get all of this? How do you bring the community on board when the community does not feel the government? When the government sounds very distant and far off from the government, from the people. So this is the reason why we need to continue to pressure this government to ensure that policy is very significant. I'm talking about that local government autonomy. It has to be followed through. It is very significant. It has stymied a lot of of the development that we would have experienced. The people who are very far aside the areas of security, in terms of even welfare also. There are some welfare initiatives that are carried out by ministries in Abuja. You see, and you realize that most of those policies, or should I say most of those initiatives, were not properly implemented because those in Abuja cannot really feel the need of the people at this local level. So we need it has come to a point where we even have to prioritize it first before even thinking about state policing first. Let's allow these governments at the local government level to operate in order for them to work coordinatedly with all of the administrators of all of these schools to ensure that the implementation of that safe school initiative is pushed through. I believe by adopting that policy, not just in principle but in practice, all of this spate of kidnappings will be significantly reduced to its barest minimum. So yes, I'll land on my thought by saying that the government has not been really inspiring, if I'm to address your question directly.